What number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
1, 2, 3, 4.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 69. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud. We call him E, a.k.a. Lee James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew, E.C., a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap, E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Joe E. Chestnut, a.k.a. Ted Theodore Logan, a.k.a. Eon Stockel. E, that might make a little bit more sense to you once you hear the final cut of episode 69, or maybe it won't. Maybe it won't.
Okay.
But it makes sense to me right now. I haven't seen you for a few days now. No clue what the hell you've been doing. We didn't watch the match together, although I know you were watching the game. So how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I had a really great weekend. I was out in Granbury, Texas.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been out there, but it was really nice. Stayed in a little house, Airbnb, out in the desert there. So it was
wilderness.
Yeah, secluded and private and really nice, but also it was like a kind of a bougie Airbnb, and it was pretty nice inside, a little swanky. There was like a house cat, or there's like several tiny homes up on this property, and they rent them all out, and this cat apparently goes to all the different homes, and I let him in the house at our place, and man, he did not want to leave. We just kept feeding him, and he was chilling, and it's like, all right, can't let him scratch up this furniture and stuff. But he was a good little companion for the weekend, and got to watch the game. Obviously, we'll get into that. A little disappointed, but we press on. And I had a really great weekend. It's really beautiful out there, and I do love visiting different places in Texas, because it's just like you get to go in like a time machine.
Depending which direction you go, yeah.
We're like 90s babies,
Yeah.
So all that stuff, you get to see the old towns, and like it was cool to like go to these little places that are just ghost towns now, and everything's boarded up on like Main Street, but like you see where the railroad passes through, and it's like, all right, we're building everything right here. And then it didn't work out, as we moved into the 21st century. But yeah, I had a great time out there, and thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, as we do sometimes when it doesn't go our way, we ramble at the top to try to avoid talking about our favorite team. But look, man, I said this a couple times, in the group chat last night, said it to you. My feeling coming away from this match is crisis averted. Okay. Yeah. Austin FC 1-1 draw with Inter Miami. And, we can go ahead and get into the match here, but it could have been way worse. And Austin certainly could have snuck 3 points out of that match, but, 1 point on the road, a little disappointing, a little bit of a letdown, frustrating to be sure. But, the team will move forward, and so will we. But let's relive it before we do. Lineup came out, and I guess just about, I think you called it, right? You thought Alex Ring, if he's good to go, he's going to be in there, and he was. In fact, we only saw one change in the team as a whole, and it was Sophie Jeffel apparently being left home in Central Texas, Rodney Redis on the bench. So the rest of the starting 11 outside of Alex Ring in there for Alexander Radovanovic, who has departed the club as his loan was up on Friday. And then everybody the same on the bench outside of the Redis and Jeffel switch. I imagine you don't have extensive thoughts here, kind of what you thought we were going to see, and probably are for most people's first choice 11.
Yeah, I would say that was probably our best 11 we could have thrown out in the pitch, with Alex being ready to go. needed him to be slotted in there. You talked about Kippy getting the start, and it just seemed a little premature to me. But this was a veteran group that we put out there, and a group that should have gotten the job done, but they didn't.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get into it here. And Coach Wolf said as much in the post-game presser, but I rewatched the game before I watched the press conference today, and a couple of times in my notes on Austin specifically, just like, man, sloppy, like loose with the juice. Fourth minute here, Austin building off of a restart from an Inter Miami offside call. Owen Wolf, who I thought didn't play his best game again for the second time in a row, but like on the rewatch, he was a little bit better than I thought Saturday night. Maybe a couple drinks, nice burger, feeling good, feeling full after the game, and letting the emotional takes fly. On this particular play early on, Owen's trying to play Nick Lima out into space on that right side. And like Lima just doesn't turn on that extra gear, like doesn't turn on the jets, and the ball rolls out. And I noticed on the replay, Owen gestures at him like, what was that? And Nick just kind of gives him the thumbs up, like, good idea. That's on me. So there was a couple times where Lima, and overall, man, and Nick Lima gets the goal here, right? So like if I assume most people, if hopefully all who are listening to us, are not relying on us to learn about who scored last night, right? So not spoiling anything here. Like Nick gets his first goal in an Austin uniform.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, like I didn't think he had a particularly good game either.
I don't think he had a particularly good game outside the goal. The miscommunications between him and Owen seemed to be a two-way street to me. And that was one of the reasons why Owen looked so bad, was because he's on that right side with Nicky, and they missed multiple, passes up the field to get us going, to get us sprung. And they struggled on that right side last night. And I mean, all the way up to Finley, it was impactful all the way on that side. Not that the left side played too much better.
Right.
But yeah, it was, I mean, obviously so happy for Nicky to get on the board there, and a hell of a shot that we'll talk about a little later. But yeah, the miscommunications between those two kind of summed up how the whole squad looked, just, disjointed, not focused. The grass there looked horrible.
Yeah.
People kept slipping, like routinely, like losing their footing. Obviously, it was muggy and humid, and that really started to take its toll on both sides. And I was really disappointed that there wasn't a hydration break in the first half.
Well, I think there was at like the 35th minute.
Was there?
I believe so. There was at least a stoppage. Well, that also may have been the time, because on the rewatch today, I don't know if your feed also went out for a period of time.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it may have occurred during that. I'm not positive on that, and maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but I seem to recall watching today that there was, I think in the second half is where you kind of got like the mini water breaks, like Alex went down, and then later in the half there was another kind of abbreviated break there when a Miami player went down. But anyways, let's get back on track here. Fifth minute, Ben Kramaski is like, I think he's 21. Winger for Inter Miami. I thought he played really well last night.
He did. Isn't he 18?
You might be right.
He's 18.
You're right again. Ben Kramaski. Like, he's under 21, and Miami, I think, had 4 or 5 under 21 players out there. Again, like you said, certainly a team that on paper we should have beat. He plays Martinez. And Martinez pops it over Julio to Rodolfo Pizarro, and Pizarro turns Nick Lima around 2 or 3 times here. Mm-hmm. And I think we were lucky, and Nick was lucky, that Pizarro didn't really play it well on his last touch, when I think the announcing crew said, like, after this touch to his left, that's got to be a shot. And he tried to take the extra one, allowed Nick to get back in front and deflect that. But just a little bit of a shaky start for Nick, and kind of the defense as a whole here. But after they get that stop, we're going the other way, and Seba ends up winning a free kick pretty easily. Like he baits this. It was another one of those young Miami kids. I think Ruiz, number 41.
Yep.
Kind of baited him in, took the foul, and Diego takes that free kick, and it gets headed out to Nick Lima near the top. And this is again where, like, in my notes, I was like, it's just a rough start for Lima because he tries to loft it back in, and we've seen that plenty, like with pretty good results, especially recently. But this one, like, he sends it just into the stands, and like, the touch was not there to start for 24.
No, he airmailed that one for sure.
7th minute, Martinez again in behind. That's a theme on the night, on a ball in from Taylor. Julio able to come level with him and kind of cause a lofted chance there that Stuver easily gets under. But again, like Martinez and these teams, like we know that these teams on the scouting report, they're trying to get a guy with speed, even a guy like Martinez, who's, on the downside of the career. They're trying to get somebody speedy in there one-on-one with Julio and just let him have a foot race. Luckily, Julio able to do enough there to get it back to Brad. 13th minute, Julio, and I thought his passing, of course, is always above average at worst. It was great last night. He was instigating a lot of our few chances we had in the first half. A lot of them began with a Julio Cascante line-breaking pass. 13th minute here, he plays a great through ball down the right side to Ethan Finley. Finley's cross from the end line can't quite get all the way to Zardes, who's sitting kind of near or on the near post. Defender heads it out. Austin stays in possession, cycles it around right to left. Danny takes some space on the left towards the middle, and he slots it to Owen at the top of the box. Owen winds up, and Robbie Robinson able to come in and deflect it out for a corner. That corner played short to Danny, then to Galley, who kind of gets it right back to Pereira. Danny crosses it to the back post, and Julio gets to it from seemingly an impossible angle. Yeah. And it ends up hitting the left post. And it bounced back out, and there's like 2.5 Austin players there, and it's just not in quite close enough to any of them to tap it home. And also, I think if a goal had been scored there, they may have gone to VAR. Danny was maybe offside there on the initial cross. Okay. But yeah, just again, I can't believe Julio almost got that one to go. And one of the chances on the night that Austin, that game defining to not be able to put something like that away, whether it would have been called back or not.
I mean, yeah, it was a very difficult angle to score a goal. And what he did with it made it a big chance for us because it was such a well-played ball on Julio's end, but hard spot to score from. And then just, did not get a fortunate bounce back out. So I believe it was Finley in there and Seba, who could have cleaned that.
Alex was also in the mix there. Yeah.
Could have cleaned that mess up, but didn't bounce to us. And it would have been really great. I mean, you threw out a tweet today about us getting on the board first and how monumental that has been for us this season. And I texted you and RB and I was like, man, we just got to get this first one. Yep. And we can kind of they would have broke, like we talked about, we were trying to figure out, what they were playing for. And they just said, hey, let's go play soccer.
Well, Tata was upstairs too.
Yeah, he was there. So they just said, let's go play. They had nothing to lose. It was very free and open from them. And it would have been just huge to get this first one and just unlucky.
5 minutes later, another good ball from Julio to Finley down the right. And this time Finley, we know he's good with his patience over there, especially letting the play develop with the way the system works, right? He's hugging that right sideline, gets on the ball and cuts inside a little bit and kind of holds up waiting for Nick to overlap him on the right and just waits a step too long to slide it in to Lima, who was overlapping him. And then Lima did make a great pass to Diego, who ended up his shot in front of net was denied by another one of those youngsters in Frey back there, number 24. But Lima, of course, offside to start. But it was a good pass, and Diego was in the right spot. So I'll give those guys credit, even though it was coming back. 26th minute, Danny plays Nick. And again, this is Lima can't quite get to it. And again, from the broadcast angle, it's very easy for me to say, oh, he should get to that.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway, but may have been just a little bit too far out in front where nobody could have gotten to that. But on that loose ball, Robbie Robinson takes it and goes the other way. Owen did a great job. And one of the things he does best, I think, is covering ground.
Yeah.
Especially when everybody else is looking a little bit leggy. Owen does a good job covering for Lima here. And then Danny comes to double. So like the recovery was good. I don't know if it was maybe we just got to credit Robbie Robinson here, or they're gassed because they just sprinted half the field, because Robinson splits them way too easily here, in my opinion. And he takes a shot that Julio was able to block, and the ball bounces to Martinez, who everybody on the Austin side raised their hand for offside. And I thought he was too. On the replay, he is onside. And Austin is very lucky that Martinez tried to drag the ball from his right to his left to get around Stuver, because Stuver's able to get a touch and kind of poke it out, and then Galley clears the loose ball. But I think if Martinez just goes for goal there, he probably scores.
I agree. He looked like felt like he was in a bit of an awkward position.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was one, like, we had those couple attempts there, and I was like, all right, it's coming. Our goal is coming. And then they have these few things, and I'm like, oh shit, their goal is coming.
Yeah.
So it was kind of back and forth, up and down, ugly, sloppy kind of soccer. And shit, man, you talked about it. I don't know if it was the last pod or the pod before the pod. But you said, there's some games where, we draw 1-1 or, something along those lines, and it very easily could have been a 4-1 loss if not for Bradley Scott Stuver. And he was on full display, and really the guy we can look to be like, well, we got this point because of our boy back there. Yeah. So the first of many wonderful plays by Bradley, and not the first, but one of many attempts from Martinez that were, was terrifying.
Yeah. 31st minute here. More just sloppy play here from Austin. Ring finds Driussi in space about 10 yards outside the 18, kind of left center of goal. And I thought Zardes timed his run very well here. And Driussi has the right idea. He's trying to play Zardes through. I don't know if he would have the best angle to really put anything on net, but it's going to be dangerous. And Seba just doesn't put it. I don't know if he mishit it, but he doesn't put enough on it, and it's like easily intercepted. It was very un-Driussi. But again, like when you're captain, right? Our number 10, the best player on our team is making a play like that. I think it kind of encapsulated the first half for me on the rewatch. It's like, man, if he's not hitting that, we're struggling, man. Like he's got to lead by example there. And it wasn't his best first half, and nobody really had a good first half.
No, I mean, I thought Seba was fine in the first half. It wasn't his best half by any standard. My issue was that bad passes like that happen. Clearly people were not comfortable with this grass. Yeah. I think that's why you saw a couple of balls that looked like maybe people could get to them, but a little skippage, or, you're slipping while you're trying to, press off your back foot. Yeah. Those types of bad balls, they happen. They're much more rare to happen for Seba. But again, he put his head down. He's very dejected, and I was like, fuck, because they were going the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. And I did want to just real quick, I think another thing that maybe just threw us off a little bit, players and coaching staff alike, is that, and I didn't notice this while we were watching. And again, going to our point that we harp on a lot is, we're new soccer fans, and part of the reason we go back and rewatch these games is because we do not have that trained eye to notice these things typically. That Miami came out in a formation that they had not been using. And Josh touched on this in the press conference. He says they had a different structure. They've been playing 5-2-3 or a 5-3-2, and they came out in a 4-2-3-1. They've had some injuries as well, so there's some unpredictability coming in as a team. He says, it happens from time to time. Once we identify it, we have ideas and we have solutions. It may take everyone on the field some time to adjust, but as the game grew on, we got a little better. And he said, especially in the second half, first half was not one of our better performances. So that was something that I think, if I was going to, because I know we talked and I'm sure some people would roll their eyes to hear us say, we think that, we got to blame the players a little bit here on this one and not the coaches. But if I was going to critique something that the coaches did last night, it would be that they probably did not adjust as quick as they could have to whatever. What was the interim's name again? Javi
Morales.
Morales. That's right. To whatever they were running out, man.
Yeah.
I think that probably played a factor in the first half and how it looked.
I think that's quite fair because they were definitely getting some really threatening looks and hitting us on the counter pretty well. And they had some speed. Those young guys, they could run. They were up and down.
Yeah. 34th minute here. Miami on a counterattack. Julio was unable to curb Pizarro's run, and Pizarro finds Martinez, who gets in on Alex Rain just before Martinez gets into the area. Alex makes a great poke. Little bit of contact there. Definitely not enough for a pen, but you always, especially when your guy is the one that throws his arms up like I didn't touch him. Typically, not always. Typically, that's a good indicator. He did touch him, but nothing doing there. It was a good bit of defense from number 8.
It was great.
40th minute, Owen finds Driussi making a little tricky run into the box, and the pass itself was pretty slick.
Yeah.
Driussi wins a corner, and on the replay last night, I mean, our buddy Jose, who was over at my place with the group watching the game, he was like, man, the fact that Driussi hit that shot because Driussi gets a shot off and Callender puts it over the bar. He poked that with his left, like going down to the ground. It was just like, again, one of those attempts at a goal. A goal doesn't come out of it, but like only number 10, I think, can hit that shot with that type of velocity, the way he was falling down and away from goal. The ensuing corner goes short and ends up going out for a second corner and nothing comes from it. But the pass from Owen was pretty saucy. And then Driussi, again, like just that quick flash of like, oh, he can do that. He can turn that chance into something actually dangerous.
I mean, he's one of the only dudes on the pitch last night who could have actually made the turn successfully. He basically caught the ball with his foot, like it was Velcro on it, in one fluid motion, turns, gets his hip square to goal, and has a chance. And look, a solid defensive play by the young Miami kid to get back in the picture there. Because if he had half a second more, he's probably in the back of the net.
Yeah. 42nd minute here. Austin wins a goal kick, and on that goal kick, Julio heads it ahead to Zardes, and he heads it to Seba, and Seba with maybe the pass of the year. Rabona's to Diego, running in behind around the defense to the left side. Diego's in on net, man. And, defense obviously sprinting back, bearing down on him, but he takes a heavy touch and not able to get a shot on frame here. Callender ends up corralling the ball that had popped up into the air. And look, again, we're no tactical fucking geniuses here, but like, you got to get a shot on frame there. And just from my personal opinion on this is, if we're going to get on guys like Emiliano Rigoni, and these were not the exact same things, but if we're going to get on him for a breakaway and not getting at least some sort of chance out of it, and maybe I'm just salty because the pass of the year was wasted. I just Diego knows he can do better. Everybody watching knows he can do better, but you got to at some point. And now that we're 2 games removed from Dallas, right, where I was certainly parroting the idea that Diego, like, maybe he's back now, right? We're getting to the 2022 Diego. I think the last 2 games, Houston, he was fine. Last night he was fine, but like I didn't see that same spark like we saw against Dallas 10 days ago.
Nope. And, to be honest, the success of this club for this season really is going to hinge on him. We know
a big factor.
We know what we're getting from Seba. We know what he's going to bring to the table. He's an elite player. Diego is also an elite player in this league. And when you have as much volatility that this team has had, and a lot of guys who are up and down, if you look at it just from the tiers of the formation, right? We've had really good games from Driussi. He was awful last night. Yeah. Then you move it back a frame, And then you have Seba, who you're continuously getting quality performances from. And then you move it back again, and Owen's been hit or miss, but Danny's been very solid. And then you move it back again, and then all right, we have Julio, who now has been the staple for the last, 10 matches or however long he's been back, but he has his limitations. We need somebody to be consistently good with Seba, and it's Diego. You know what I mean? It's been great to watch Finley have some really great games and look good, but he's not the guy who's going to carry us to a potential playoff series win, because he's that talented. He's a very hard worker. He's smart. He knows how to time his runs. He's savvy. But with Diego, he has all of the things that you would want from an elite producer, and we saw him do it. So I really think if a move is not going to be made, and I think that is something that we should discuss after this in regard to where, how are we moving forward with this club. If the team is as is right now, I still maintain that we can beat almost anybody in a 3-game series, albeit, LAFC hasn't looked great as of late, but still, I still have them a clear tier above us. Yeah. Clear tier above us. So if we're going to be a team that's going to be able to do that, then he's got to be better, man. He has to. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, right? Or 2 assists.
I think it's 1 and 2. Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm with you. I also think it's fair to say you got to lump Emiliano Rigoni right in there with him, just because and I know the DP spot, that tag is not his fault, but he's the 2nd highest paid player on the team. And now I think in the league, right, we have even less production from Rigoni. Either it's the same or what, it's hovering in that same range. And he's been playing all season.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of love it.
Well, I was going to say, to your point, the difference, I think, why at least I'm clamoring for more from Diego, because just like you said, we've seen him do it. We saw him be that all-star level player last year. And we think Rigoni should be that, just based on what we think we should get out of our second DP. But yeah, man, if you're spot on, right? And it's obviously not rocket science. If Diego is not playing up to the level that we need him to, that he did last year, we're a different team.
Yeah, and I mean, I had left Rigoni out of that discussion because I was like, we need consistency, and nothing has shown me that Emmy is going to give us any sort of consistency, going forward. We might get some sparks out of him off the bench here for the latter half of the season, but
he might be starting again next week, bro. I don't know.
Maybe. Again, no one's running away with that other winger position. And, I'm just saying, from a standpoint of, we go out there, the ball's on the pitch, we know what we're getting from this guy. Yeah. Know what he's bringing, and Diego has to be that.
Yeah. Who on the team do we have? Okay, so 10, 6, and 1, and 18, I'd say.
Yeah, you're going to know.
Count on those guys game in, game out.
Yeah, you know what you're getting from them, absolutely.
Yeah. Closing out the first half here, this is 45th minute. Martinez gets him behind. This is after kind of I want to say it was Kramaski and Martinez kind of overlap each other, and it gets Julio and Alex mixed up, and Martinez is not even just in behind, he's by him fucking self. It's him and Bradley Scott Stuver, and Stuver makes the kick save to keep the game level into the half. Stuver, I mean, dude, I don't want to skip over the fact that in stoppage time, Stuver had to make 2 other saves, albeit less dangerous chances. But he's active again in keeping us in this game. And then Taylor picked up a yellow for taking out Danny. Taylor had already been warned without a card.
2 yellows on that play.
That one's coming, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a double yellow fucking play.
I thought the official fucked that one up.
Yeah, it was 2 intentional fouls. Obviously, just an amazing stop by Brad. And then these other ones in the stoppage time are kind of, lost in the madness of what he had just done. But I was just like, oh, Christ, can we please get to halftime and get our old-ass players off this field, get them some Gatorade.
Yeah.
So I actually was like relieved, and I end up missing their goal in the second half because it happened so fast, and I was just like, I need a break, and I'm outside.
Yeah.
Fucking checking my phone and shit, smoking, like trying to fucking calm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he saved the day, man.
Yep. So getting into the second half here, 47th minute, Miami gets a cross coming in from the right. Ring tries to get his head to it and just misses. Ball falls in between Cascante and Owen right to the foot of Joseph Martinez. And he buries it past Stuver. And I think just here, like it's the ninth highest goal scorer in league history now with that goal. Pouncing on a fortunate bounce. I don't think either Julio or Owen expected Alex to miss that. And at the end of the day, you've got, I think Josh said that there were 7 guys in the box and 1 Miami player. And like, look, fortunate bounce or not, the guys have to do better there. Because they're, look, you can say what you want about it. Yeah. Talk to your guys, right? Especially when that ball's in the air. And there's no drill in practice that they can do to say, okay, you guys, there's an excuse for 7-on-1 and we get scored on. Again, the guys have to do better there. And that's what I came away from last night and after the rewatch. It's unfortunate for us, but it's very fixable. That was very preventable.
Yeah, it was a lucky bounce, and of all their chances, that was the shittiest one, and it just happened to go right to his foot.
When you mentioned, I was digging in a little bit, just again, to the surface stats, looking back at the schedule, looking back at the results, and we know that we were, the cardiac kids, right? The comeback boys last year. Getting scored on first, it didn't matter much. And sometimes it felt like, all right, now the game can start.
Yeah,
now we can go and put 3 up on you. It's just it's not the case this season. And look, man, when we score, and you said that all last year, it's unsustainable, and it ended up being sustainable throughout that season, and it no more.
Yeah, that doesn't mean
when we have scored first this season, essentially unbeatable. 7 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss when Austin FC scores first so far through the 2023 season. That 1 loss was without Diego, without Seba, the second match at Houston, right? Zardes scores first, and then they get the equalizer later on, and then the Franco late goal. So again, could have probably pulled a draw out there, but that's the 1 loss when we've scored first this year. If we concede first, no wins, 3 draws, 7 losses. You're done with this season when we get scored on first, and that needs to change, because to get to where we want to be, right? Top 4, you are going to have at least 1 fucking comeback down the last 14 games of the season, and maybe multiple. Obviously, best case scenario, we just never go behind again the rest of the season, but you're going to have to show some and not show fight. The guys do show fight most of the time. But you're going to have to be able to complete one of those comebacks. And you've had 10 chances to and haven't been able to pull it off. At least last night, they got the point. So that's one of the 3 draws. Portland on the road with the late Bruin goal. They came back twice in that one, right? And then the San Jose draw at home, I believe, also came back twice. Came back twice. I don't actually remember if Abobasi was 2-1 or that was the equalizer, but regardless, those are the 3 draws. So, again, just something to watch. And
I think the thing that really compounds it is that the staff knows, and we try to get on the board first. We're aggressive when we come out to play, and I forget who was talking about. I think it was Ribbinator when we had him on, and he was just touching on how demoralizing it has been at times where we don't get this first goal and we're like really fighting for it, and we hit the crossbar or we hit the post, and we have a bad miscommunication, and it really deflates us. But yeah, look, man, we're gonna concede the first goal again multiple times in this season, and we have to be able to figure out how we're gonna go about getting 3 points out of those matches.
Yeah,
to be where we want to be.
Yeah, and again, draws on the road after you conceded first, in a vacuum, they're fine, right?
Yeah.
But it just does not feel good when the opponent is Miami on a 7-game losing streak, playing a bunch of youngsters. It doesn't feel good. But what does feel good is that you got that equalizer. And it came pretty quickly here. Before that goal comes, 49th minute, poor pass by Julio starts the Miami break. It was very close to being 2-0 in quick succession here. Kramaski, sick turn on Gallagher. I don't get excited to like praise the opponents all the time, but that kid's fucking good, man. Like I had not heard of him before last night. That kid's pretty talented. He fires a shot blocked by Stuver, as he tends to do. But then Martinez, like Stuver doesn't corral it. He just kind of parries it off to his right. And it looks like Martinez is just going to have a dunk, but Julio slides in. That blocks it kind of up into the air, and Ring heads that, and it falls right to the foot of Robbie Robinson, and then he puts it wide. Luckily for us, did not get his his full weight behind that one. But oh man, my head was in my hands. I was sunk into the couch. I was feeling pretty awful at this point.
Same.
But just again, 2 minutes later, I think it's actually the next possession after this. Or after that near disaster there. Ring plays a long ball. He's just over midfield, kind of towards the left side of the box. Driussi gets under it, chests it down, and gets it to Diego there on the left. Diego can't beat his defender one-on-one, so he drops it back to Driussi. Driussi splits 2 defenders, and then he fires a shot that's blocked. He called for a handball on the replay. Not a ton in that. No. But the deflected shot, the blocked shot, falls right to Nick Lima at the top of the box. Like you said it earlier, man, there's some real skill in this shot, and he slots it right next to that right post. Calendar can't get there, and 4 minutes after we went down, we are equal again. Congrats to Nick on his first goal. It's a long time coming. Guy doesn't take a ton of shots, but he's been close before. And so to get this one, especially with his newborn in attendance, it was cool to see. He was pumped up, and
he was.
I at that point I was like, okay, like we're back. You got over it real quick.
Yep.
We'll get that second one. Obviously it doesn't come, but that was uplifting right away.
Yeah, I mean, great to see. So happy for Nicky. I can finally tell my Nick Lima story. I've been waiting for him to score.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So I can tell my Nick Lima story. I'll give you the condensed version. Last summer, out on a boat for a buddy's birthday. We're out with one of those like floaty things, and people are chucking me beers, and I'm drinking them in the water and shit. And this other boat pulls up alongside of us to the right, and somebody throws me a beer, and these 2 German Shepherds think it's a ball, and they just launch themselves off the other boat and are swimming at me. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, and just like holding it up. It's like, it's just a mango White Claw, man. Like you can't have it. So like the owner of the other boat was like, oh, hey, like, don't worry. And like calls him back over and shit. And I'm looking over and I'm like, oh, no worries. Like it's all good. And I'm like looking at this dude and I'm just like, yo, I know this guy. Like I know him. I have no idea what his name is, but I 100%.
Yeah. His face.
Know that I know you, So I get back on the boat and we're like, pretty close to the other side. And I'm looking at the dude and I was like, hey man, like, beautiful dogs. Like, hope you're having a good day, whatever. I was like, I don't know if this is weird, but like, I definitely know you, man. Like, I know you. And he's like really shy and not saying anything. He's like, and then his dad or uncle or somebody is like, he's like, he's on Austin FC. And I was like, oh shit, that's Nick Lima. So I didn't, I just gave him one of those and let him go about his day because clearly he was just enjoying a day with his dogs. But finally, I can tell my story about Nicky Lima. Hell of a finish. Talk about composure. Talk about some skill. Instep of the foot. Near post. Finishes it behind. Finishes it against a good keeper. And he was very excited. That high five. He almost broke somebody's damn hand. Boom. So I was hyped for him. And that's how I felt. I was like, okay, we're back on 11 playing field. It's 0-0. We are the better team. The second goal is coming. We're going to get out of here.
I don't know if it was on the long ball that he played in to start that series or not, but after the goal is scored, Alex Ring is down behind the play in the Austin half, and he gets subbed out, walks off under his own power. So looked like probably just re-aggravated, or maybe even didn't re-aggravate, just like felt a little bit of a pull and was like, okay, we're 50 plus minutes in here. Mm-hmm. Josh did say the plan was to get him 60 and then see how he felt. Hopefully that's just precautionary, right? And we see him available for next Saturday, but Alex Ring comes out, Kipp Keller comes in there in the 53rd minute. Did you have any other read on him as he walked off the pitch?
I just think he's not full game shape ready. And when you have something like that happen, the best course of action is to just get him out of there, especially if you were going to bring him out in like 7 minutes or so. So
yeah,
no issue there. I think he'll be ready to go next game. He has to, because Kippy comes in and it does not look like Kippy's ready to start, man.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He might have to. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, man, look, we can talk about him later. 54th minute. Ruiz gets a yellow for a tactical foul on Danny. And, dude, they were beating the shit out of Danny. And it's just like these dudes are taking – what's that?
So was he.
Yeah, true.
I can't believe he didn't get a yellow.
I know. We'll take it.
Yeah, but they were kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Again, we've said it for over a month and a half now. It's on the scouting report.
Yeah, because he's a little hot-headed sometimes. And
absolutely.
That's fine. Like we
what makes him it's part of the reason why he's such a great player.
Yep. But that ensuing free kick, it's about 10 yards outside the 18, kind of I think right center of net here. The free kick's taken by Diego. And to that back post on the left, who else is there but Julio Cascante? And he heads it with some power, but right to Calendar there, which was a bummer. But again, Julio just continuously a threat on these set pieces. 60th minute, Austin building up down the right again. Julio playing a good ball to Finley. Finley to Owen. Owen holds it up and waits on Lima. Owen still kind of hugging the right sideline here, waiting on Lima to make his run more towards the top of the 18. And once he makes his run, Owen finds him. Nick kind of gets a lucky bounce around a defender here in the box, but stays in possession towards that end line, and he puts it right across the face of goal. Zardes can't quite get there, but like Diego's on the backside here. And I think it was a lot tougher than it looked from the broadcast angle. But my issue here was that it looked like Diego was not even ready for the potential of this ball to get all the way through to him. I heard a couple people on the We Are Austin TV spaces suggesting that could have been a tap-in for him. And emotional Zach last night probably would have wholeheartedly agreed. After the rewatch, I don't think it certainly was not an easy play, but the lack of a reaction there was what kind of got to me the most here. What was your take on that chance that was created?
I mean, this has happened multiple times now with Diego, where the ball has there's been a couple that haven't found their way way to him because somebody makes a bad header, and he's been visibly frustrated with that. But there's also been ones like this where he's either a step slow, a step behind, or not ready. And obviously, after what he did in the first half, it makes anything he's doing a bit more critically judged. When you have an attempt or a potential attempt like this. And I don't know if he could have got there and had a really nice, solid play on it, but it just kind of was a story of the night. It was, it just not there mentally, not all the way locked in, not focused.
62nd minute. Pretty good Austin buildup here through the middle. Zardes drops in, receives a pass from Owen, and Zardes pretty much immediately touches it onto Danny, who's overlapping him. Danny plays a nice give and go with Diego, and Danny gets to the end line. He crosses it in just out of the reach of Zardes.
Yeah.
And, man, it falls to Driussi, and he loses balance. You mentioned the surface giving guys some issues. Should have been a goal, man. If he keeps his balance, I think he blasts that into the net, and we are up 2-1 and probably not looking back here. I wrote down, I think maybe it was a little bit tougher than it looked, even if he didn't lose his balance, but
it always
boy,
is.
did that feel – what's that?
It always is.
Sure.
It's always tougher than it looks. But, just another unfortunate a maybe, a big if.
Should have been a goal, I think.
Yeah.
Even if it's tougher than it looked, I think it also – we got to put those away.
I think that's fair.
63rd minute, you get Rigoni and Lundqvist in there for Diego and Finley. So pushing John Gallagher up to that right wing. You also get Leo Campana coming in for Rodolfo Pizarro. So Campana, the guy who, he got the goal in Austin last year. 65th minute, Brad gets a nice save just off a straight-on shot from 20 yards out. And then Miami gets on the rebound, but they were offside. And then the next minute, Leo Campana in on Stuver, kind of out near the edge of the 18, and Stuvino shows up and just scoops it right past him. And you get one of those a game, it feels like, from Brad. Again, the man is confident with the ball at his feet. And I will say this, and maybe my memory is just deceiving me. 2021, you did not see a lot of that from Brad. Over the last 2 years, he's gotten a lot more comfortable with his feet.
He's gotten much better. I was going to say the same exact thing.
67th minute, yellow card on Frey here, and this is what you were bringing up earlier. This, I thought the official had a pretty good night. 9 minutes could be in question at the end here, but this was just a flat-out mistake. Arroyo pulls Danny's jersey, not just like a tactical foul. He does it like 3 times to try to get the ref to stop the play, and Danny battles through it. Ref gives the advantage. And then who I think Frey was the one who comes in and just trucks Danny.
Yeah.
And like you said, clearly on purpose, taking a yellow. And Frey is the only one who gets a yellow. And the announcers were, of course, pointing this out as well. But I just don't know what the excuse is. I imagine if the officials had some sort of transparency report here, they would say, yeah, we missed that one.
I don't know how you could possibly miss it. He was grabbing his jersey multiple times to try to pull him down from behind while the man is running full tilt and controlling the ball. Fucking, not only is it dangerous, it's not even remotely a soccer play. That is not part of the fucking game. It was 2 yellows. I was screaming for it before the announcers even chimed in there. I was just like, okay, just because, just because you didn't call the first one doesn't mean you can just because you call the second one doesn't mean you can just do whatever the fuck you want before that. Yeah.
It should have been 2 yellows. That free kick, though, is played on the ground out left to Gallagher. He crosses it in, and Kipp gets his head to it. He puts it over the bar, and Kipp was calling for a corner. He thought there was a deflection there. Wasn't given. But good to see Kipp make some contact there and be a threat because, we saw Rado didn't quite score during his tenure here, but was definitely dangerous. We've seen it from other center back options in the past. And so, that's something that Kipp, especially if he is also going to be at this point of his career, a below average guy defensively, like you got to bring us that threat on offense, especially off our set pieces, which is where we, for better or worse, score a lot of our goals.
I was going to touch on a positive from this game. Our set pieces are still elite. We have elite set pieces. Second point, scouting report on Kippy coming out of school was he's good in the air. We haven't had enough opportunity to see it, but he is good in the air. He's got a big frame. He's a big guy, and it was good to see him get his head on this ball. And Johnny's asking for the corner too, but we didn't get it.
Yeah, 71st minute. This is where Lundqvist just lapse in concentration. Just the ball he just lets it roll out of bounds.
I'm going off on him after you wrap this up.
No, do it. Go.
He was fucking awful. He was embarrassingly bad. And I also took some real exception to how happy lovey-dovey he was with one of the Inter Miami guys after the game.
Really?
It was all smiles for him. And he came out and he was dog shit. I remember seeing that play and I was like, oh man, well, we're tired. I guess that's a pretty, it's a solid excuse. And I was like, wait, that's fucking Lundqvist? He's only been in the game for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You got to come in ready to go, man. We can't afford to have you need 5 minutes of acclimation time to get into this game when it's a 1-1 dogfight with a team that we should beat and need to beat. And he was fucking terrible. And, we've talked about it before as well. He's looked good in the 3-back where he can play that wing back position and be more of an offensive threat. But defensively, he's bad. And he's small. Yeah. And he's slow. Yeah.
Yeah. I
was pissed. I was legitimately pissed at his performance last night. Of all the guys, there's not many players looked good, but in his short amount of time, he was able to stand out for how bad he was.
Yeah, and I just don't, like I've mentioned a couple other times in the pod, like I don't recall a time this season where I've thought, oh, Adam looked good right there because of a defensive play, or even just a play in the defensive half. It was all, like you said, all when we were playing that 5-back, when he was able to get up and be involved in the offense. And man, he's like, we need more out of him, because we can't it can't be all Johnny and Nick the rest of the season. It can't be. And you have to separate yourself. And I think he still is a tier above, Hector or a guy like that. But like, you have to be the legitimate backup option here.
Yes.
And obviously he flashed in May. But ever since we went to the 4-back, he's dropped back down to being, I think, thoroughly unimpressive the last couple outings. And look, it's on him to come in, like you said, and be locked in and be able to have little to no drop off. It's also on the coaches to find ways to put him in places to be successful. And maybe the coaches have not done that to the best of their ability. There's a lot on their plate. I don't think we should be really focusing on Adam Lundqvist.
Yeah.
How we don't need to be drawing up plays for him and shit like that. But you get my point, right? Like
but he's a veteran.
He was clearly, yeah.
He's been around the fucking league, man. Like, this is the basic requirements of your job. Be ready to go when you come in. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, gets back out there next week at some point and puts in a better shift. The next minute here, 72nd, yellow card to Noah Allen, who took out Galley on a breakaway down that near sideline from the broadcast angle. 3 minutes later, double switch here for Miami. Stefanelli and McVeigh in for Robinson and Taylor. 79th minute. Julio nearly gets beat near midfield, but bicycle kicks it back into that Miami half. Miami retains possession. Arroyo plays Kramaski, and Keller steps in, plays the passing lane perfectly. He's there. He's got the interception, and it bounces past him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kramaski in on net, puts it over the bar. He could have done better there as well, but look, man, Kipp did everything right except secure the fucking ball. He read it. He was right there, and probably had an opportunity to start a counterattack.
Yeah.
But you got to finish that play, man. You got to secure it. And at the end of the day, it ended up being a bad play after it started well for number 4. And that was his one, I thought, his one mistake on the night, right? It led to that chance. Look, we were lucky. We didn't get punished. And I think he's played what now? About 90 minutes total, I think, between the last 3 matches. We haven't been scored on while he's out there.
Yeah.
And this was really the first time that he's had a glaring mistake.
We've seen him enough at FC2 to know that he can make that play in his sleep, which to me means it's still jitters. It's still not a confidence in himself. And look, I'm all for supporting Kippy. I'm going to support Kippy till the end. But the players, they need to stop coddling him a little bit. We can't just have this guy that everyone feels bad for out on the pitch. You're with us, baby. You're back. You're you're in the team. We need you. We need you to feel confident in who you are, what you've done your entire life. This is only a talking point because of the glaring mistake that happened earlier in the season. Sure. This is now a point of emphasis for Kipp. And you just got to get that back. And I know that he can. And that was a tough one. And I'm glad we didn't get punished for it. But a better team does punish you. A better team scores there.
I agree. 81st minute, double change here for Austin. Maxi comes in for G, and then Johan comes in for Owen Wolf. 84th minute. Seba goes down, grabbing towards his Achilles. I think it was more of an ankle at the end of the day, but it was non-contact. It looked like he kind of took an awkward step, kind of jammed his foot, little just awkward play there. And he finishes out the match, but scary moment right there, man, because it's fucking non-contact, and just grabbing at the back of your heel is disastrous normally.
It's terrifying.
We'll get an update, right, at some point, whether it's from midweek press availability or the injury report, or Saturday the lineup coming out and all of a sudden he's out another month. Who fucking knows?
Jesus.
We'll knock on wood. We can't have that much faith in our injury report at this point, just given what they did with him 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
87th minute, Borrell comes in for Josef Martinez. 89th minute, Austin wins a throw on the left. Lima comes over to take that long throw. Miami clears it, but Austin retains the possession. It deflects off of a Valencia pass to Driussi. Driussi takes a shot. That shot's blocked by a Miami defender, but still continues going towards the net. And it deflects like kind of into the ground, up into the air. Not the easiest save for Calendar, but he ends up corralling it. And then there's like really the last 20 minutes of this from the 80th on, because there is 9 minutes of stoppage time. And I guess I want to start there. 9 seemed like a lot for me. But then what I can't lie, man. I didn't like as a fan that Josh and Davey are on the sideline arguing for less time.
I agree.
Because it was very clear to everybody watching the match that we are trying to get out of here.
Yes, we want to. Yeah.
Look, I also, as a fan, trust that they know what's going on with their guys on the pitch, that they don't have the legs to really push up the field and expose us at the back with tired Julio and tired Nick and Kipp out there, who already made a mistake 15 minutes earlier. But again, just the emotional fan side of me is like, Fuck, guys, we got 9 minutes. Let's go for it. I understand the strategy in being a little bit more passive there. But my immediate reaction was not great.
The optics were not good there.
Sure.
But yes, we were fucking dead.
Yeah. Both teams.
Yeah,
there was not a lot in these last 20 minutes.
No, we were gassed. And I wanted Maxi earlier.
Sure.
G had not shown anything that entire game to warrant playing him even on more tired.
We're not getting him. If we're not getting him service, he ain't doing much.
Exactly. And look, we've been critical of Maxi and we've wanted more from him, but he can only play, he can only do what he's going to do in the limited amount of time that he's going to be out there.
He can only score when he's out there, and he's not out there a ton.
But I will say his energy was fantastic. He was one guy who was constantly, let's go, come on, to the finish line. And we needed that. That. I'm not saying it's one of, a reason why we didn't get scored on or concede another goal there.
Yeah.
But it was important for the guys who were out there, and he needed to be out there sooner.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, like from where we were with Maxi and his body language in April, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very different player. That's the player we had all of last year, right?
Yeah. In
terms of his camaraderie, his leadership, his emotions on the pitch, when he's more encouraging and positive and energetic like that, it can do. We've seen it do wonders for this team over the last year and a half. 7th minute of stoppage time here. I did just want to highlight this because it was a solid play. It's not, not going to get him into the All-Star game or anything, but Miami's out on the break here. And Borgellin's out kind of one on Kipp. Kipp takes not a great angle. He takes the right angle to get in between the Miami forward, cut him off, and draw the foul. And that was really the last threat from Inter Miami. So just, Kipp did play to the final whistle. And, again, we still have not conceded since he's been back out there in 3 appearances of varying lengths. The final minute of stoppage time, Campana takes out Julio. Julio sells it. Campana gets a yellow, but then Nick takes exception, sticks up for his guy. He gets a yellow, and that's all she wrote. So what do you got on the yellows there?
I mean, he might have sold it a little bit, but he runs right through his back.
Yeah.
Like that was
it was
a cheap shot.
Yeah.
That was a cheap shot. And then for him to get mad because Nick I thought Nicky should have done more. Should have given him the same thing. Sure. I was like, blast him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was an interesting. We didn't really talk about the fact that Diego got subbed out before Finley.
It was at the same time.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was a double switch. Both Finley and Diego, because then we pushed Johnny up. Emmy came in on the left. Johnny went up to the right.
Okay.
Lundqvist was in on the left.
Okay.
So 1-1 draw. Again, you're bringing back a point on the road, which I keep coming back to this, man. Crisis averted. Mm-hmm. We would feel so much worse today if we brought back nothing from that trip out there. Final stats here. Miami actually wins possession 53%. You don't see that a ton with Austin. FOTMob's XG model here, 1.76 in favor of Miami to 0.73 for Austin. And no matter which model you look, Miami certainly the more threatening team from the expected goal standpoint. If you look on the momentum chart there, the three biggest mountains of momentum are very clearly Verde. So, expected goals maybe didn't tell the full story last night. But again, if one team was going to be more likely to win that based on their chances, it was certainly Miami, right? Especially with the breakaways they had. 18 shots to 12 in favor of Miami. 9 shots to 4 on target in favor of Miami. Corners 7-2 in favor of Austin. What else do we got to talk about here? Any other post-game takeaways for you? Like, again, I thought just not great, not terrible, and we move on. It raises the importance of these next two road matches, though, and I think again, like, I'm not sure if we actually discussed it on air, but you and I were both saying to each other that through the 4-game stretch between Miami and SKC, right, where we go into the Leagues Cup break, that we wanted 7 points from those 4 matches, and Miami was kind of the one where we were chalking up 3 points.
Yep.
Now that you don't have it, I think to get to clearly mathematically to get to that 7 number, you're going to need to pull 3 points away from one of these next 2 games. And of course, we'll preview Minnesota on Wednesday's episode. But man, it's just I definitely don't see 3 points in either of these next 2 games.
They're going to be hard, and Minnesota gave us fucking hell that first game, and they did not.
A lot better now.
Yeah, and they did not have Reynoso. They have not looked as good. We owe SKC one. I think we're going to want to get them back.
Yeah, I do have confidence that we're going to put a good performance together at home 2 weeks from now. But again, like you're going to at least need to get a result from one of these 2 away games. You can't drop both and keep pace with, again, because you just got yourself back in the mix to be like, hey, we're in the conversation for top 4, right? And look, 2 losses coming up does not take you out of that, but it does some real damage to your chances.
Particularly because the teams you're giving 3 points to are right in the thick of it with us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge here, man, to come up to show up and get these road results. We're learning how difficult it is to get any sort of result on the road in this league. It's just a hard task. And we got to get one of them, and we can definitely get one of those games. I talked about Vancouver last episode and the respect that I have for them, but again, we can still beat that team. A
couple other quotes here from Josh's presser post game. Kind of the opening statement was hard earned point, on the road. Didn't play particularly well in the first half and got punched in the face to start the second half. Said, I liked the reaction after going down a goal, and we started to generate more chances in the attack, but sloppy and sluggish with the ball in the first half. Talking about the goal that Miami scored, he said, we've got 7 guys in the box, quite disappointing. Unfortunately, we didn't deal with that situation well. Goes over Alex's head, Julio and Owen, and Josh on the Zoom call kind of throws his hands out like Julio and Owen, what's going on there? He says, Martinez is a good goal scorer. He has been for many years, but we gave ourselves more problems with our sloppiness with the ball and impatience in the attack. And then go ahead.
A full-size center back doesn't miss that ball.
Yeah, sure.
A regular-sized center back heads
not
that.
A 5'8" one.
And that's part of the reason why Alex is the trade target for me, is because we're not even utilizing him in the best position that he, plays.
Right.
It's just this, emergency response to the fallout from the roster, the injuries. And, just a tough one, man.
Yeah, he did. He said Kipp did a decent job. It's always tough to come in off the bench. And he said Alex with the coming off was more sudden than anything planned. They said Kipp, I'm pleased he came in, did a good job filling in for Alex, and again didn't give up any goals. That in the sense, even with the little slip up he had in the 70 whatever minute, like the fact that he's gone 3 appearances now, the team has not conceded while he's been out there. That's got to be building up the confidence at least a little bit.
I agree. And Chippy wasn't even close to being as bad as fucking Lundqvist was, and nobody talks about him being terrible.
Yeah.
And a veteran, and not a guy who's dealing with a catastrophic fallout from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So fuck off, Adam Lundqvist. That was terrible.
Come on.
I'm pissed, man. He was horrible. He didn't cost us the game, but he was shit. And then to see him after the game just fucking dapping up this other dude, lovey-dovey, cheer. Like, I'm fine having, I don't buy into that nonsense. You got to hate every other person
right.
in the league. But, like, take a little pride in your craft. I would have been pissed at myself.
Yeah. Well, and you can. Okay. Well, look, and I guess the only thing I'll say about that is, like, and I know you know this, but, you can still dap up your boys, whether it was a former teammate, maybe it's a fellow Swede there.
It looked like a countryman.
Okay. You can still do that without the huge boisterous, like, what's up, my boy, after a disappointing result. So I get you.
But he's a grown man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. All right, I'm done.
I'm just saying, look, man, it's like, look, if we played against each other halfway across the country, haven't seen each other for a year, we'd be giving some love.
I agree. I agree. All
right.
I'm done.
We'll move on. He's done. Last thing before we move on here, though, completely from this match. It feels, especially like we know Colorado at home, fucking draw. Galaxy on the road, L. Miami on the road, draw. So, like, I think it's been fair for people to say, at least that it feels like Austin has been playing to their competition this year. So dug in a little bit to that. And this is not the best sample size, the best metric to use, but this is how it is so far through 20 matches. Teams above the playoff lines, and this is in both conferences, right? So the playoff line is not the same number of points, I don't believe, in both conferences, but teams that are currently above the playoff line in either conference, Austin FC 5 wins, 2 draws, 6 losses. That's 17 points from 13 matches, 1.31 points per game. Teams below the playoff line, and of course there are less teams available below that playoff line since almost everybody gets in, but below playoff lines, Austin 2 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses, 9 points from those 7 games. That's 1.29 points per game. So essentially the same. And I think just at the end of the day, you just have to be better. The team is not performing worse against those teams that are below the playoff line, but you're just not performing well enough. So like you average that out, right? 1.31, 1.29. We'll just say 1.3. Right, 1.3 over the season, I think, puts you a little bit above 44 points, which would be the cutoff the last few years for that 9 seed. So in terms of where we are in the standings right now, still in 8th in the Western Conference. We are playing to an 8th place, 9th place level right now. That's got to come up if we're going to get up into that top 4, or even just the top 7, right, and avoid that wild card game. We do not want to be playing in the play-in.
I was thinking about doing the pod earlier, and I was just like, am I going to slap the label on this team that we play down to our competition because of these 3 games that you've highlighted here? Yeah. In the first 2, you kind of have this, a built-in excuse a little bit, and you can be like, it's not really the entire squad that we, wanted to have out there. But this one, it was. This was our choice 11, and we got 1 point versus a very bad club. There's no other way to say it. They're a bad team. We're also hurt. That one, it could come back to bite us in the butt. This one definitely could.
Yeah, and just looking at the freaking standings here, man, and obviously we were discussing it last night in the group chat. It could have gone worse for us with the other results around the West, right? Like, you do see Real Salt Lake steal a point there. One of the only 2 road teams that won across the league this weekend. RSL gets 3 points up there in Toronto. They are now on 30 points, at least 5 league matches without a loss. FC Dallas beats LAFC at home without Jesus Ferreira, and of course a couple other guys still working their way back and or out there. So those 2 hurt. But, San Jose gets a draw. Houston takes an L. LAFC took an L up there on 32 points. Vancouver, just below us, they took an L at SKC. Below them, SKC gets 3, Minnesota gets 3. So that gap for KC and Minnesota, the gap we had on them is now closed. But Austin remains in 8th place. So, and again, 3 points out of the 5 seed and a game in hand on Seattle and RSL and San Jose. But again, man, like if you got the aspirations to be up in that top 4, last night is a game you got to have. So now, again, like we said, you're going to have to steal some games throughout the remaining 14 that you are not favored in. And the way this team has played through the first 20, there's not a ton of confidence you can put behind that idea. I
agree. It's going to be a very interesting latter half of this season here, particularly like our reinforcements coming. Yeah. Is Rodolfo waiting until next is next year the year that he really is able to be like, all right, we're not taking on any short-term bad deals right now in order to, plug this hole that we have on the back line and move into playoff position because we don't want to hamstring ourselves for the upcoming season. I hope that's not the case. I think that this team deserves a full shot to go make some noise in the playoffs because I think they have earned it with how hard they have played and their commitment to being as good as we can be out on the pitch, no matter who's out there. And obviously, we can critique all kinds of people, and I just went off on Lundqvist. But as a whole and a collective, this team has shown fight throughout the entire season. Our camaraderie looks better now. The energy looks better. It was a disappointing night. I understand. All was not lost, though. We got the point there, and now we have to win some tough games, and that's good. That's good. That'll make you that makes you battle tested for the playoffs. Yeah, you gotta get some of these games here.
Well, you brought up Rodolfo. So we did on Friday get the official announcement from the club after we talked about it on Wednesday night's pod. Rodolfo Borrell officially announced as the new sporting director at Austin FC. Just wanted to real quick go through some of the quotes from that welcome video that the club did put out. He said, and some of these things, right, is lip service, but some of it I found pretty interesting. He said he wanted to join MLS for a long time now. I know that he, or at least I saw some people discussing that he's been a candidate for some other MLS jobs in the past. But he said it's always been an ambition of his. Up until now, he thought it was not the moment, but he said right now is the moment. He says, his conversations with Anthony Precourt were great from the beginning. They've known each other for a while, but not deep conversation like they've had throughout this process. He says he wants to do things for the club and he's very ambitious. So good to see, obviously, Precourt taking the lead, of course, as the frontward facing owner of the group. And went back to May 21st. He was at a Man City game, posting pictures, researching the 3-2-4-1 in action is what he said. So now we know why he was there. Mm-hmm. And again, so last summer, remember when he went to Camp Nou, we were speculating Barcelona, he's there. What could this mean? Nothing came of that. So nobody speculated about him being at Man City a month ago or 6 weeks ago. And something did come of that. Mm-hmm. He said that he and Josh had exchanged messages, that they actually have met before. They said we've known each other for a while. He says he is very much looking forward to working with Josh. And then in the press conference last night, though, Josh kind of downplayed the idea that they had already been in contact about what they're going to do going forward. Rodolfo not in the States yet. There will be an introductory press conference when he does get over here, but his sporting director duties did start on Saturday. So I'm sure much more communication remotely going to happen between Rodolfo, Josh, and the rest of the team there in the front office to try to get some of these moves in the transfer window over the line. Rodolfo talked a lot about the culture of alignment that he comes from and that he wants to instill here. Obviously gave some credit to what Austin FC has already done in that respect. But he said, what we are trying to implement into the first team is crucial. He's been an academy coach, technical director. He's coached second teams, been in the first teams. He said, this is not anything that's new to me. So bringing the confidence into the new role. He did mention the fans, of course. And one of the most important points for him was the fans. He says he thinks that the fans have been able to produce the best match experience in MLS. It's one of the things that excites me most. I'm happy to meet them and very happy to join them. So that was just cool to, get to hear him speak a little bit more about the project that he's coming into and joining us here on, this 100-year war. Any other thoughts from you on Borrell? Because obviously we talked a lot about him on Wednesday.
With those pieces that come out, you always try to pick through like what's just not lip service there, and just trying to see what could be his actual motivations for coming over to the MLS. And he did mention several times it's been on his radar. It's been something that he wants to do. So that was the most encouraging thing that I took away from that. And I'm just super excited for the man to get in here and start cooking, baby. Let Rodolfo cook.
Yeah, same. And again, we'll see. No new smoke in terms of transfer rumors. Josh continuing to say we're looking inside the league, outside the league. But again, I still came away from that press conference last night like very confident we're going to have at least one move here in the window, if not multiple. Window opening on Wednesday. Two other pieces here. Brad Stuver, congratulations on his second straight ESPY nomination for the Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award. Of course, Laundry Project, Equality Texas, all the things he does in the community that he's done his entire career, but especially like obviously now that he's here in Austin, we all get to see it up close and personal, just what a great guy he is. And obviously his better half, Ashley Stuver, also alongside him throughout all of this. So hopeful that whoever votes on the fucking ESPYs recognize this time and give this man the award he so rightfully deserves. But even if they go somewhere else, number one in our hearts, Bradley Stuver. Congrats on that. And I know everybody appreciates every single thing that you do for the community.
Great keeper, better human.
Couldn't put it better myself. For the academy here, we got Ervin Torres selected to compete in the MLS Next All-Star game that will take place on Wednesday, July 19th. Actually going to play at the Naval Academy there in Annapolis. He will compete with the MLS Next Western Conference All-Stars against a team of All-Stars from the East. Of course, Ervin has been both or in the youth systems of both the United States and Mexico. 6 total youth international call-ups, 5 with the U.S. U15 and 16 levels, 1 with the Mexican youth national team at the U16 level. And Torres is another one of those academy players that has an amateur agreement with Austin FC2. He signed that back in March, so has not competed at that next pro level yet, but maybe we see that in the second half of the season, especially if Austin FC continues to maybe call some of these guys up. We'll see. But congrats to Ervin on the All-Star nod. Well-deserved.
Yep, hell of accomplishment. Keep it rolling, baby. Just, the resume will be lengthy after his career.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little last business day here. I will admit, typically, we get into, especially lately, we've been given the full game breakdowns for FC2. I was out having some beers with the Verde Pendant boys on Friday, which was a fucking blast. Logan Paul. It was awesome. I think we stayed a little bit longer at that spot than we all anticipated, but I had fun and looking forward to hopefully another time. And I know all three of those guys, said that they're definitely waiting to meet Easterdamus, or cannot wait to meet. So we'll have to set another one up. So we had the game I had it on my phone, leaning up against the pint glass there. We didn't pay a ton of attention to what was going on, score, couple plays. But the starting lineup here, some interesting little nuggets, right? No David again, so I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully we can get some information soon. AOC started at the 9, so that was big. And then Chris Pinkham also got his first Austin FC2 start, so we got the answer there on the back line. And I do have on a good source, Check Torres, still feeling a little bit of pain, but not expected to be a long-term injury. So expecting Check back at some point soon. May not be this Friday against Dynamo Dos, but not a season ender. Know that for a fact, and that's great to hear. I know both of us were certainly worried about him.
Yes.
So you also got Alonso in there, Valentin. Micah was out there, got the start on the right. Bobo back in there. Charlie on the left. Damian in net. Again, I did not see this, but Valentin got subbed out in the 39th minute. So I'm not sure what happened there. I hope it was – I imagine there's some sort of aggravation of something or picked up another new knock. Brian Ariano came in for him in the 39th minute. So hopefully get an update there as soon as we can. 69th minute, again, which is very appropriate for our episode here. John Santillan came in for AOC up top, and then EJ makes his return to the pitch. Glad to see that. Came in for Micah. 86th minute, you did see Coach Utley make the switch to go double striker there. Pinot comes off the bench. So alongside Santillan there up top. I thought it was interesting that Santillan got in before Sebastian Pinot. Pinot came on for Brian Ariano. 0-0 at the final whistle. So we head to the penalty shootout. And Real Monarchs, man, gets off to the hot start. They knock down their first three. Santillan knocks his in. Pinot not able to convert. Then Pinkham, who was third. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
To go third. He knocks his in. So Real Monarchs heading into round 4 of the shootout, up 3-2. You get a save. I believe the fourth one was a save. Fourth shot from Vasquez, saved by Damian Las. Alonso Ramirez converts his, so we're tied. And then in round 5, CJ Fodry knocks his in. And then Williams was denied by Damian Las. And in the words of Maxi Urruti, the best keeper in the world. Congrats on another fantastic outing, another clean sheet, another shootout win. And man, Austin FC, I don't have the exact number here, but I know it is greater than 500. 500 plus minutes for Austin FC 2 without conceding a goal in open play. So that was great to see going on the road, shorthanded on the back line, no Kipp, no check. The guys get it done, and they get the extra point coming home from the elevation. So if we're taking a look at the Next Pro table in the West, pulling it up now. Some of these games, some of these teams in action right now. Colorado looks like they took care of business. Tacoma right now taking on Dynamo Dos. They are tied 0-0. North Texas taking on LAFC 2. North Texas is up 1-0. Austin still sitting comfortably in second, 33 points through 17 matches played now, 22 goals for, 10 against, obviously stays the same from last match, 9 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws and shootout losses, 2 draws and a shootout win. So Dynamo Dos coming up this Friday. That's 8 p.m. at the pitch. And I'm still making the final decision here, E, because, look, I love Austin FC 2. That's our team. You know who else is my team? San Antonio Spurs. And Victor Wembanyama makes his Summer League debut on Friday. So at the very least, I'll be out at the pitch with a second screen. But we'll see. I might have to stay home for that one, man, because gotta watch my boy.
I can't blame you.
All right, let's move on to the nonsense here and close out the podcast. So again, another reminder, if you missed this on Wednesday's episode, this coming Wednesday, July 5th, we are going to have our live stream, the Best Ball Summer Transfer Window, Moon Tower Soccer, We Are Austin TV, Texas Ring of Fire, everybody in the house. We're going to make a couple transfers for our best ball rosters, talk a little bit about Austin FC, how we're all feeling about the club. Maybe we'll get those guys to preview, the Minnesota match with us. We can kind of all put our heads together, see how we're feeling coming into the week. And it's going to be a blast. So 7 p.m. Central, Wednesday, July 5th, Best Ball Transfer Window. Looking forward to it. Hope you can join us on the YouTube channel. In terms of this week, in Best Ball, North End Podcast, victorious again, 46 points on the week. We will take that headed into the transfer window. Obviously a lot of people with the Gold Cup going on. Charlotte had a bye. Some guys still injured or transferred out already. We managed 46 points. You get 9 from Berkey, 8 from Shaq Moore, who was our only active defender. So we love that, getting 8 out of our solo guy. 9 from Ladero, 8 from Ricky Pooch, 10 from Cucho, who scored early in that one. We Are Austin TV, second, 37 points. They again had no keepers. Also, Jesus Ferreira missing and Swiderski on a bye, but they get 16 today from Thiago Almada to leapfrog Moon Tower on the week to get into second place there. 37 points, 36 for Moon Tower, who had their entire roster outside of Lewis Morgan and Romel Kyoto, who have been out for essentially the entire season. Nobody scores more than 9 for them, so 36 points on the week. Really struggled to get anything going up top there with their forwards. And we will take that, making up 10 points on the first place team. Texas Ring of Fire, 35. Again, like for once again having, I think this week it was, less players active than DNPs for 35 points. No defenders, only one forward, had his one keeper. RB gets 12 from Lucho Acosta, 9 from Christian Espinoza, 9 from Martin Paz, 5 from Alan Velasco. I think he'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was our final week before the transfer window here. Excited to see who we can pick up here in the window. Overall, Moontar still out in first, 965 with their total score. North End Podcast, 912. 886 for We Are Austin TV and 796 for Texas Ring of Fire. Obviously, we're past the halfway point of the MLS season, but a lot of fantasy still to go. And we've got some midweek games coming up here too. So I know only half the league plays with the Gold Cup. We may or may not be able to have scoring here leading up to Wednesday. We'll see. Not as fun to talk about the bets. Once again this week, I think the only way I can describe this is carnage. We threw out 13 picks on the Wednesday pod. We go 4 and 9, minus 4.2 units, 4.20. So I guess 420 blaze it for those so inclined. Let's go through it here. The misses on the week: Austin, Houston, Vancouver, Philly, Chicago, Toronto, LAFC, Driussi to score, Sergio Cordova to score. The 4 hits we did have: Nashville minus 125. You're glad I talked you into that one. Columbus minus 105. Cucho to score plus 200. And then Minnesota plus 105, which we added after the recording last week when we heard Evander suspended and Minnesota getting it done in a big way, 4-1 over Portland at home. So we're now minus 32.99 units on the season. Let's get into the week 23 picks. And like I said, I think only 6 games here in the midweek, 5 on 4th of July. I think all of these are rescheduled matches from postponements or delays earlier this year. And then we've got 1 match on Wednesday between NYCFC and Charlotte. So, I will toss it to you. We are not shying away after a bad week, clearly. We continue to push through all of this terrible betting this season. So I'll throw it to you here. What's your first bet on your week 23 card?
My first bet is going to be a giant middle finger to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gave me Dallas plus 120 versus the fight in Runes, and I say nay.
Oh.
I say nay.
Okay.
I went against my boys last week. I can't do it twice in a row. And Rune, he owns us. He owes us one now, baby.
Yeah.
He does. Yeah, he owes us one. I've believed in them the whole season. So I'm taking DC United at plus 205 against Zach Graham's better judgment. Give me him at plus 205. The fighting Runes go into Dallas, and they do us a favor. 0 points for FC Dallas here. And we'll take that.
Hey, putting in the call.
We should probably go against our initial thoughts on these bets.
Well, you might be right.
All right. That's where I'm at. Just
all right.
Wild card that one.
All right. Yeah, switching it up. All right, Charlie. Plus 205 for DC at Dallas. I'm going to start it off. I'm going back to LAFC. They let us down in Dallas last night, but they are plus 105 here, technically on the road. But this game is in the Rose Bowl, if I recall correctly, against the Galaxy. This is the rescheduled, postponed game from week 1 of the MLS season. So LAFC wanting to get back at the Galaxy, and Ricky Pooch in particular, after the Open Cup match, and Payaso. Chiellini's going to be a little hyped up for this one. So I think LAFC plus 105 gets it done in the Rose Bowl. I'm going to lock that in.
I like that. I'm going to go to a player that won us some money last week in Evander getting suspended and letting us lock Minnesota in. Give the old double, the 2-shot right here, efficiency standards.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and take Portland plus 215, at lowly Colorado. Mm-hmm. And then you throw in the Evander goal plus 300, lock them both in.
Ooh, I like it. Well, I'm going to hit a double here too then. Columbus has been doing us good, right? They get to go to Miami this week, and I think Columbus is going to get it done. They are plus 135 to win at Miami, and Cucho scored. This man, I don't have the stats here off the top of my head. I could look it up, but I'm not gonna. Cucho shoots the most out of almost anybody in this league, if not the top spot, at least on a per game basis. So I'm going right back to Cucho here. Plus 10 to score. So Columbus plus 135 and Cucho to score plus 210. I'll throw it back to you. I think you got one more here.
I love Cucho bets. It's good. Yes, I'm going to a guy who knows how to score goals. And the reason we're taking it, even though the team has been in shambles this season, is because he's just really good. And he's really talented at what he does. And his name is Lorenzo Insigne. And we get him at plus 330. And anytime you can get a goal scorer like that on the pitch at plus 330, we're going to take it. Add into the fact that he's on the best ball squad. Get us the goal, baby. The double whammy. Lock her in.
We're talking about guys on our best ball squad, which, by the way, if you're paying attention to all of this nonsense, all 4 of these goal picks are on our fucking best ball squad. We didn't plan it like that, I promise, but this is how it turned out. And this also might be a little counterintuitive since I think LAFC is going to win this match, but Ricky Pooch is too damn talented to be plus 400 to score here, especially in a match where there's a little extra juice here, not just because of the rivalry, but because of what he did in that Open Cup match. So I think he does it again for good emphasis. Like, I'm thinking a 2-1 LAFC win here with Pooch as the Galaxy goal scorer. So I'm going to take Ricky Pooch to score plus 400, and that will wrap up the Week 23 betting picks. I think we're leaning into these goal scoring props. I think it's a little bit more fun, I think.
Yeah, we haven't lost
when they score.
It. So the potential is still there.
So he's got DC plus 205 with a wild card Rooney bet at Dallas. Then he's got Portland plus 215 at Colorado and Evander plus 300 to score. And then Insigne plus 330 to score for Toronto. I've got LAFC plus 105 against the Galaxy. Columbus plus 135 at Miami. Cucho to score at plus 210 and Ricky Pooch to score at plus 400. Those are the Week 23 betting picks. And I hope you fade them and make money. And then we can continue our shtick of being awful on Twitter. That's going to wrap up episode 69. It was a very nice one here on the North End Podcast. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
It's been a hell of a season so far. It's been a wild ride. But Rodolfo is here. We got the point last night. Let's remain calm, move forward, get some results here coming up. Love my Verde bros and sisters and others. Let's do this, baby.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. But what I can say is if you are still with us here after another 90-minute edition of the North End Podcast, if you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the pod, wherever you get your pod, and let's be honest, if you made it this far, you've got 5 seconds to do that. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. You've got time to do that as well. Help us grow the pod. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up, like it's gonna on Wednesday, or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the humidity of Fort Lauderdale. We will be back on Wednesday with the live stream episode, YouTube and Twitter. If you want to jump into the comments, you got to do it on YouTube. That's the only way we can pull them in and see them while we are live. Hope to see you guys there. Come participate. Give your take. When we're going to talk Austin FC. We're going to talk MLS. We're going to talk transfer window. What you have to say. Come join in the discussion. So hope to see everybody on Wednesday. Enjoy the beginning of your week. Crisis averted, everybody. We move forward. Appreciate you being with us. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.